Our rowboat is 29 feet long. It's got a cabin in it. It's got room for 4 guys, just barely, and we take it thousands of miles across the ocean.
With the adventure, I didn't do it to find some new state of being. I didn't do it because I wanted to, find myself. I did it because it looked fun, and it was in the end.
After you go to the Olympics, you either go again and you repeat it, and you keep going through the exercise. You completely cut it off and let it go and go a completely different direction, or you morph it. And there's something about rowing that I feel is in my soul, and I want it to keep with me. So I had to find a way to morph it.
Originally, this is about rowing across the ocean. Get in a race, we're going to row faster than everybody else because we could, but we're actually contributing and inspiring kids to do something with themselves as well.
You have to completely submit to the sea. You're just completely at its power, and I think that takes a certain, level of faith and strength that is truly humbling. So about 6 years ago, I was staring at a poster on the boathouse wall, and it had a 20-some-odd foot boat, had 2 guys in it. It didn't have an engine, it didn't have any sails. All it had were these 2 guys and their oars, and they were rowing across the ocean. And I looked at that and I couldn't get it out of my head. And in 2 months I had a team of 4 guys, myself included, who wanted to row across the ocean.
When Jordan first came to me with the idea to row across the Atlantic Ocean, I thought it was a silly idea. And I was training full-time in small racing shells, and I thought, I want to do this. But he got a group of guys together, and based on my background of loving to go out and play in the woods and explore and get to the mountains, it just kind of made more and more sense.
In order to get from one side of the ocean, you can't, granted, you're doing one thing millions of times, but there's so much else that goes into it. 80% of what we do is just getting to the starting line. The ocean rowing bit is probably about 20%.
You think it's crazy until you prepare. And until you take into account everything that could go wrong. And sure, maybe it requires a little craziness to go outside of land for the first time in your life on the water, but once you're there, you've prepared for it. So it's not as bad as you think it would be. And as soon as we put both feet in the boat and we shoved off from New York Harbor, all of a sudden, all weight was lifted from the shoulders, and it finally got to be fun again.
We expected big storms, we expected ships, and we were in a big storm, and that was scary, and we almost got run over by a ship, and that was scary. When I think about rowing across the ocean, that's not really the first thing I think about. If it was, I don't think I'd want to do it again. Did it have an effect on how the 4 of us interacted? Absolutely, and that was unexpected.
There was a day where we rowed for 2 straight hours and couldn't make progress, and we had been doing this already for a week, and all of a sudden, just self-destructed. I put my oars down and just sulked. There's nothing he could say to get me rowing again, but we had to hit rock bottom, and we did. If you stop rowing, then you can't get to England, and for us, if you stop rowing, we can't get across the Atlantic. So you just got to figure it out, stare it in the face.
Putting the oar in the water, 1 stroke at a time, is super easy, but you start to add hundreds of thousands of those into millions that it takes to cross the ocean. There's something about it that becomes special. One of the competitors quit in the first 3 days. In 72 days, we managed to stay ahead of our competitors by at least 250 miles once we got out ahead of them, and won the race.
One of the 4 rowers on the OAR Northwest ocean rowing vessel. I've got a pretty unique background. I'm a flight test engineer for Boeing, and so I'm somewhat of the resident engineer on the group. When they first originally went across the ocean in 2006, I was one of the guys that was there in case something happened to one of the rowers, that would just drop everything and go across the ocean with them. I started rowing at Lake Washington Rowing Club, and I was learning how to scull, and Greg Spooner and Jordan were there training themselves and competing against them in pieces. They were there specifically for the reason to get in shape for the ocean row. So that's where I heard about it. If you're gonna go after something, go for it full bore. It's something I've translated into a lot of different parts of my life. I became an engineer, but I was horrible at math and science as a kid. The same thing with music. I used to be a concert violinist. I started at the age of 2. I've played a lot of different places and done a lot of different things. Even though I'm smaller than all the rest of the guys, I'm just as strong. I'm just as perseverant, and I won't stop. And that's the key trait that I think I bring to the team.
My name is Adam Creek. I'm a member of OAR Northwest. I am Canadian, and I'm rowing with 3 Americans. I fell in love with this sport called rowing. It took a long time to learn the skill, learn the discipline. I realized that I wanted to go to school. I wanted to row. Rowed for a bit in Victoria at the University of Victoria and trained full-time with the Canadian national rowing team. Get to the Olympics and we finish 8 seconds behind the Americans. The Americans win the gold medal in 2004. And I remember crossing the finish line and I was holding my head in my hand, and 5 minutes earlier I was sitting on the start line on my seat, and I believed I was going to win. And it just didn't happen. I was really burnt out from the sport of rowing, high performance rowing. I had this coach, his name's Craig Americanian, so much passion for the sport that I found the love again, and I was motivated to come back and do this again. But in 2008, this time we delivered, and this time we won, and it was incredible. It was a really good experience. I met Jordan at a race in San Francisco. Jordan told me about rowing across an ocean. I told him about my experience. We were instant friends. I mean, 2 different ways of expressing this great sport of rowing. So instead of approaching rowing like a speed demon, like a metalhead, I approach rowing like a surfer would approach his art, where I want to be fit, but I don't want to be the most fit in the world. I want to be fit enough for the challenge. I want to be fit enough to get out there in nature, into the wild, to connect with that higher power, and also have an adventure and create a story.
My name's Greg Spooner. I'm the elder, and I'm a physical therapist. When Jordan first came to me with the idea to row across the Atlantic Ocean, I thought it was a silly idea. And I was training full-time in small racing shells, and I thought, I want to do this. But he got a group of guys together, and based on my background of loving to go out and play in the woods and explore and get to the mountains, it just kind of made more and more sense. I think the human body is very adaptable, and it shows because we all started in one place, and over the millennia we've expanded east, west, north, south, and put up with very variable conditions, and we've excelled in every single place. You can do the same in a tiny little rowboat. Every few days you get to switch partners, and the ocean is always changing. I swear it's like watching fire. You're sitting around a campfire, keeping an eye on the flames, and you can just totally get lost in it.
Again, there's something about being out there without an engine, without sails, that I find incredibly empowering and attractive. I mean, for me, it's mixing a sport and a physical motion that I enjoy, which is rowing, with the idea of going places with it. OAR Northwest's mission is to put together ocean rowing expeditions, just something that 4 young guys put their heart and soul into. They gave it the bones to become something. The last mission was to row across the North Atlantic as fast as we can, and we're not going to go out there to row slowly this time around, but this time around, whereas we focused on rowing as fast as we could, this time around we're focused on communications. We want to go into schools, we want to get involved with real science by using this vessel as a vessel of opportunity and giving it the ability to collect a lot of data, and then giving it the ability to bring that into the classroom. We began to think about it, it seemed like there was something more we could do to bring this experience to shore. And the more we thought about that, the more we thought about how are we going to make an impact
with this ability to communicate.
OAR Northwest is an ocean adventure rowing organization and education program. It seeks to involve students in the learning process, motivate them through engaging with ocean rowers, and become active learners.
When they can look at our project and see how something like this adventure can get folded into their education, they will look at this adventure and get excited about it, and then they'll see how we had to learn many different disciplines in order to make this happen, and I think it will give gravity to what these students are already learning.
We thought we could communicate the organization out to the community, and so we teach students science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And our vessel is basically a floating platform for that type of program. We think it's just such a unique opportunity. Every person that we talk to that has joined our education board, they're really excited about that portion as well. Not just the part that we're nuts and rowing across an ocean, but we're actually contributing and inspiring kids to do something with themselves as well.
China, yes. You can plant a seed like that, and you can change the trajectory. You can see part of
make it sort of relevant to them by relating to something in their life, getting them talking, getting them excited about stuff that they do.
Just teaching it out of a textbook or seeing a video isn't really that engaging. Our expedition really is, because the kids are interactive. They're talking with us out on the ocean live. They're seeing videos from us. They're looking at the data, giving suggestions to us while we're on the ocean as to what course we should take based off tides or weather patterns coming up. So it's something that is engaging, and that's key.
I don't want them to go row an ocean. I think it's dangerous. But they have their own challenges growing up as kids with families and friends, and their own experiences that I think we can help them with. And plus, it's just cool.
I think that people are truly happier when they're challenged. And I think that if they're given that chance, if they find out what inspires them, then you kind of have that desire to go out and chase it.
You're doing it for the goal, and you have the goal to motivate you, but at the same point in time, it is about the journey, and it's about the lessons we learn along the journey.
You think about all the things that you've done in life and what you haven't done. It's somewhat like a bucket list, and this is one of those things that came into that bucket that not that many people have done before, that could separate myself from the collective. So it's just a perfect opportunity that I had to take.
Until we get to the ocean, it's not just an adventure, it's a job. When we're on the ocean, it's not just a job, it's an adventure.
Yes. Yeah, give King Neptune a song or two. Yeah, yeah.